Passions Fishing. Jamie, I'm glad you're here. Well, I want to talk a little bit about white bass fishing. But first off, I'll show you my catch. Pretty excited about this. I gotta share it with you. I caught these yesterday on the Maumee River here in Maumee, Ohio. Some good catches there. A couple slabs in there. Just on the floor of my garage. Soon after this video, I'm gonna have them cleaned up, and we're gonna get them in the oil. We'll have a little fish fry. Well, anyway, with that being said, I'll talk to you some of the basics of what I've learned white bass fishing. But before I go on, we got the walleye run, we got the white bass run, and the walleye run comes first, and the white bass run comes second. So the walleye run usually comes around April, as early as March, and that's slowly fading out already. Well, it's already pretty much done. People, I've heard, still catching walleye. The white bass run comes in about right at the end of April and into May, and usually ends and fades out usually about in June, about the first week of June. And there's those that still maybe catch white bass in the middle of June. It starts fading out, but the stronger part of the white bass run is right now, in the middle of May until the end of May, and it's the best time to get out there and fish, especially if you got people, family you know that don't like to fish. This is the ultimate fish to go after to get them hooked on fishing. And if you got maybe a wife, or you got maybe a dad or children that are kind of bored, it's like can't do all that fishing. Take them white bass fishing one time and see what happens. They'll probably get hooked. But anyway, with all that being said, I am here in the north part of Indiana, and here in Auburn. So I'm from about 2 hours and 15 minutes from the shoreline of Lake Erie. But I'm a lot closer to the trips. Now, these white bass and the walleye will come off the Great Lakes and come into these tributaries to spawn. So as I said before, the walleyes are pretty much faded out. They're back in the big lakes, and now we got the white bass. So we got the Maumee River, the Vermilion River, the Rocky River, and the Grand River. So we have all these different rivers that are coming off of the Great Lakes, bringing these fish in for us to go after. And one of the rivers I'm mainly on is the Maumee River. I've been on the Sandusky a few times, but I'll make it up there this year, hopefully. And the Maumee River is probably the river I'm more familiar with when it comes to the white bass run. And that's only an hour and probably 10-15 minutes from my house here. So easy, quick trips. To get up there, I can make multiple trips up there. What I can do to get up there and do some white bass fishing. So with that being said, I want to show you my rig. The rig that I use for the white bass run. Now, I've known people use all kinds of rigs. Rooster tails are a very popular rig. I've seen a lot of people use rooster tails. It's an expensive lure. I think they come, even some of these department stores sell them for $2 or $3 a piece just by itself. They're very popular, but I would suggest just using a little lesser, cheaper lures, and they'll catch just as many white bass. I use the double rig when I get out there and fish for these white bass. That's about 12-14 inches apart. And the reason for both of them being white, white seems to be a popular jig to use up there for these white bass. I use a 1/8 ounce lead head. That's probably about a 2-inch jig, 2-3 inch jig. And I use a Palmer knot to tie the top and a uni knot on the bottom. And I'll have knot videos up here soon. I've been wanting to put them up. And you'll find them other YouTubers. If you go to YouTube and find how to tie a Palmer knot and uni knot, I'm sure you're gonna find hundreds of videos on that. But I'm gonna try to put some on my own channel to show you how to tie that. But yeah, that's it for when it comes to white bass fishing. It's a simple rig. You can use a single jig. You can do that. A single twister tail will work just fine, but I'm finding that the double one is actually a little more effective. Gets them to bite a little quicker. These jigs supposed to mimic minnows, so when you got two together, that just seems a little more natural. And it's funny, the thing of it is, I've only caught one from the top. One white bass from the top. The other, usually 90% of the time, I catch white bass from the back. So that's interesting to know. And the rod that I use, I like to use a rod with the tip just a little stiff in it, not a whole lot of flexibility. So a light rod probably wouldn't work. I mean, I've seen people use them. I mean, you still catch white bass, but if you're fishing off the bank and you want to get some distance, little stiff end, tip end would probably get you a little more distance. So it'll give you that little whip there to pull that line back. I'm using here as a spinning combo, Black Max 6x6, 6 foot 6 inches, a medium action spinning reel. Works great. It's a perfect setup for me. It works great for me when it comes to white bass fishing. And like I said, you can use different rods. I've seen people use 8-foot rods. I've seen people use medium heavy rods catch these white bass. So these rods ain't gonna keep you from catching them. They're more interested in this right here. They're not interested in what kind of rod or what reel you got in your hand. They're not too interested in that. They're interested in what's going in that water in front of them. But it makes it more fun. You have a little lighter tackle. You put that nice bend on that rod in your brain, because they put on a nice fight, and they put a decent fight. Now, with that being said, with this white bass run and the walleye run too, with white bass and walleye run together, we'll catch other mixed species of fish on these jigs. I was surprised 2 years ago to catch a flathead on one of these jigs. I mean, my mind was already made up that flatheads only bite on bluegill and cut bait, shad, all that. Never thought they would actually bite on a jig. Well, 2 years ago I caught a nice, I didn't weigh him or anything, but I think I'm guessing 8 or 9 pounds. He was a decent sized little flathead. Now with an 8-pound line, which I was using then, it was a light line, 8-pound line. It took a while to bring him in. So I was fussing with him, pulling drag, pulling drag. I finally brought him in, had got a picture done on him and stuff, and that was a beautiful fight. But like I said, I was really surprised having a flathead bite on a jig. And you will catch catfish sometimes. And also another fish species you'll catch, more likely, is a drum. Those fish are fun to catch as well. They're a bonus, the way I look at it. They're nice, they're fun fish to catch. And you always will know when you catch a catfish or a drum, because when you start reeling it in, they always will try to pull on the bottom. They'll give you this like this. They'll just kind of bend like that. But they'll want to go back on the bottom. You're trying to pull them back up above the water. They want to go back on the bottom. So that kind of indicates, well, to know and let you know that you probably got a drum on the line or a catfish. Now, when it comes to the white bass, they'll fight just kind of like the smallmouth or the largemouth bass. They'll fight just like a typical bass. They'll just be everywhere, splash out of the water, and it makes it more fun, especially the currents there. It makes you feel fish even heavier when you're trying to reel him in. So yeah, with that being said, a lot of fun. You got to do it. I mean, some of you maybe think the license and stuff for non-resident. I know I probably mentioned this before. About $50 for non-residents for Ohio license. It's not a bad price. Like I said, if you take a friend, take family, take your children to this white bass run. There's plenty of access for the family. You always will find space on the bank somewhere, or even if you're on a boat, you'll find space. I've done this for several years now, and I never had any problem finding space and found a spot where there's white bass. These white bass seem to be all straight down the river. Yeah, they're gonna have some spots that are probably a little better than others, but no matter where you're at in that river, it seems like you're gonna catch white bass, no matter where you're at in that river. And I tell you, when you make memories, you can't put a price tag on that. It's worth the $50, and you can fish year round. And what makes it nice about these tribs that come off of Lake Erie too, with the Sandusky and the Maumee, the Grand Lake, Vermilion, and the Rocky River, you can fish this year round. A lot of people don't know that. You can fish year round on these tribs that come off. You have, I think around December and all through up in March, you'll have steelhead. You can fish steelhead through all those months using your same license. Then the walleye run comes in. Go up here for the walleye run on the same license that year, and then you come in for the white bass run. And it's a lot of fun, a lot of blast, a lot of fishing. And I'm blessed to have Lake Erie not so far away from here. Those they're right there on the tribs, are even more blessed because they can go out of their backyard and fish every day if they want. It takes a little traveling for me, but it's not a bad travel. I plan on taking some people fishing up there, like some of my co-workers. So ones that just don't fish a whole lot, just an opportunity to minister and witness to them and talk about life and everything, and just have a great time together with them. And what an opportunity to fish, especially when these are a little simpler fish to catch. They're not a difficult fish to catch. So it makes it a little more interesting when you bring people that don't fish a whole lot. You can take them up there and fish. So yeah, okay. That being said, I'm gonna get these fish cleaned, and we're gonna get them soaked, get them ready for the fryer, have a beautiful fish fry. Like I said, I probably could have caught a lot more, but I only took in what I can handle, what I can eat. And I have to pretty much eat these myself because my wife doesn't eat fish out of the river. She'll eat them out of the lake, but she won't eat them out of the river. The river just looks too nasty for her. Anything come out of the river, she says. But that's okay. More fish for me. Say, this is Too Fast is Fishing. Remember, trust Christ for life. You know, God is sending His Son, and He's coming back someday. So be prepared and look up, for the redemption is near. This is Jamie again, Too Fast is Fishing. Love you all. Be blessed.